They call themselves the descendants of Rome. Their language, a Romance tongue, echoing the Latin of empire. Their history books speak of Dacians and Roman legions, a proud fusion of East and West, forged in ancient blood. But what if that story is not entirely true? When scientists sequenced the modern Romanian genome, what they uncovered sent ripples through the field of European genetics. Romanians, it turns out, are genetically distant from Italians, not cousins of Roman settlers, as once believed. Instead, nearly half their DNA matches the signature of a very different people. Slavic, 50 to 60%. A staggering figure for a nation that never abandoned its Latin voice. How could a language survive when the bloodlines beneath it were so deeply transformed? Was it resilience, assimilation, or something older, something the history books forgot? The Daco-Roman myth, a cornerstone of national identity, now stands in tension with the molecules of the modern genome. If they are not simply the heirs of Rome, then who exactly are they? And beneath that Slavic layer lies an even deeper mystery. Ancestral threads that stretch back thousands of years, through Ice Age caves, through Neolithic farmlands, through Bronze Age kingdoms long vanished. What are these ancient signals in the Romanian DNA? And how did they endure through centuries of conquest, migration, and cultural upheaval? Stay with us, because what we uncover next will rewrite everything you thought you knew about the origins of people and the shadows of their past. And if you're drawn to lost histories and the secrets written in ancient DNA, subscribe now. There are many more stories waiting to be told. Beneath the towering cliffs of the Carpathians, in the dark mouth of an ancient cave, a secret lay sealed in bone. Pestra Mierii, a place where time folds in on itself, and the breath of a woman who lived 35,000 years ago still whispers through the stone. Her skull, unearthed in layers of Ice Age sediment, would reveal a truth no one expected. She was not some primitive ancestor. Her DNA was astonishingly diverse, more so than many Europeans who came thousands of years after her. How? In the frozen grip of the last Ice Age, Europe's human population had dwindled, fragmented. But here, beneath the Carpathian shield, something had endured. A lineage older than empires, older than nations. Hunter-gatherers who had adapted, survived, and shaped the very roots of what we now call Europe. Their legacy, still present, threaded deep within the genomes of modern Romanians. A faint echo beneath layers of Neolithic farmers, Bronze Age warriors, and medieval migrations. Yet unmistakable. A genetic fingerprint from a time when glaciers carved the land and humans clung to existence in scattered enclaves. Imagine them, tracking wild game through icy forests, carving symbols into bone and stone. Their stories unrecorded, yet written in the blood of their descendants. And here's the twist. While most of Europe saw these hunter-gatherer genes fade beneath the waves of incoming peoples in the Carpathian Basin, something different happened. Those ancient lineages persisted, subtle but enduring. In certain villages, certain family lines, you can still trace their markers today. A living bridge to a forgotten Ice Age world. But this fragile continuity was about to face its first great test. Because just beyond the horizon, a new force was gathering. And when it arrived, it would reshape everything. 6,000 years before Rome, before Dacia, before even the first written word, a quiet revolution began. It came not with swords, but with seeds. From the highlands of Anatolia, across winding rivers and deep forests they came. Families of farmers, bringing with them a knowledge that would change the land forever. Agriculture. And with it, a new kind of life. The Iron Gates region, where the Danube carves its path through stone, became a meeting ground. Here the old and the new collided. Hunter-gatherers who'd fished these waters for millennia now faced neighbors who planted crops, tamed animals, built permanent homes. At first, two worlds side by side. But over generations they fused. DNA from these Anatolian farmers began weaving into the local gene pool. Not gradually, profoundly. Today, more than half the ancestry of modern Romanians traces back to these early settlers, and their influence runs deeper than blood. Even now, echoes of their world remain, in the bread still baked in clay ovens, in ancient harvest festivals, in the very grains that fill the fields each autumn. Rituals, foodways, and quiet traditions passed through unbroken chains of memory. But beneath this seemingly peaceful transformation, an undercurrent of tension stirred, because beyond the eastern horizon, another force was gathering, and it would not come with seeds, but with hooves. They came like thunder across the plains. No walls could stop them. No river could hold them back. From the endless grasslands of the Pontic-Caspian steppe, the riders arrived. 3,000 years before Christ, an age of copper, bone, and blood. They were known to us now as the Amnea, nomads, herders, warriors, and they carried more than weapons. They brought language, a tongue that would echo across continents. And they brought blood, a new genetic signature that would forever alter the map of Europe. In the north, their impact was swift, overwhelming, entire populations reshaped. But here, in the shadowed valleys of the Carpathians, something different happened. The steppe ancestry did not conquer, it blended. Why? Perhaps the mountains slowed their charge. Perhaps the deep-rooted Neolithic communities here were harder to break. Whatever the reason, the genetic record is clear. Romania became, not steppe, not farmer, but something in between. A fusion. And with it, a cultural transformation. From the graves of ancient chieftains, we find clues. Ornaments of metal, crafted with skills born of the steppe. Horse bones buried with care, symbols of a new way of life. Skulls shaped and honored beneath towering burial mounds. Here, the first whispers of Indo-European language took root. Not imposed, but adapted, woven into the fabric of an ancient land. And from this strange alloy of farmer and rider, a new people would rise. One shrouded in myth, fierce in memory, and still pulsing through the veins of their modern descendants. The Dacians. For centuries, the story was simple. The Dacians, fierce mountain tribes, proud defenders of their homeland, were conquered by Rome. Defeated. Erased. That was the tale taught in books, carved in stone. But what if it wasn't true? In recent years, the different voice has begun to speak. Not from ancient scrolls, but from within the blood of their descendants. A hidden record, inscribed in the genome. When scientists traced the DNA of modern Romanians, they found something astonishing. An unbroken line. Bronze Age. Iron Age. Dacian. Modern. The markers of ancient I2 haplogroups, once carried by Dacian warriors and chieftains, still pulse in the veins of Romanian men today. 1/3 of them. And in the rhythms of old songs, in the twist of traditional carvings, in folk rituals, whispered from mother to daughter, echoes of Thracian and Dacian culture survive. The people were never erased. They adapted, endured, interwoven into the living fabric of the land. A silent defiance against the tides of history. And for those who carry this blood, who walk these forests and fields, the message is clear. We are not erased. We are still here. But as this truth emerges from the DNA, another, deeper mystery awaits. Because when the Roman legions marched into Dacia, the story of this land took a turn no one expected. When Rome came to Dacia, it came with legions, steel, architecture, law, and language. The story seemed clear. The land was conquered, Roman settlers arrived, the people were Latinized. But what if the Romans themselves never truly came? When scientists examined ancient DNA from Roman-era graves across the Balkans, they found something strange. Very little Italic ancestry. Almost none. The Latin language had spread, yes. But the genes of Italian settlers? Barely a whisper. Instead, the graves told a different story. An Anatolian woman buried beside a Balkan man in Viminatium. A richly adorned sarcophagus, sealed for centuries. Not Italians, but migrants from the eastern Mediterranean, from Asia Minor, from distant corners of a vast and restless empire. A mosaic of peoples converging on the frontier of Rome. And it was here in the markets, in the workshops, in the homes of Roman Dacia, that cultures fused. Greek merchants, Levantine artisans, Illyrian soldiers, their blood mixed with the native Dacian stock, even as Latin words began to echo through the streets. A cultural conquest without a genetic army. And so the new identity was born, not Roman in blood, but Roman in voice. And yet, just as this fragile synthesis began to take root, A far greater force was stirring beyond the northern forests. A tide of migration, unlike anything the Balkans had seen. And when it came, it would reshape the land forever. It began with whispers in the northern forests. A movement of families, not armies. Villages, entire clans, crossing rivers, slipping through mountain passes. By the 6th century, they were pouring into the Balkans. The Slavs. For generations, their arrival was seen as a footnote, a migration among many. But the DNA tells a far different story. When scientists sequenced modern Romanian genomes, the result was staggering. 50 to 60% of the genetic code. Slavic, half the blood of a nation reshaped in just a few centuries. And yet, here lies the paradox. Though the genes transformed, the language did not. While Bulgaria, Serbia, Croatia embraced Slavic tongues, Romania did not. The Latin voice remained. How? How does a people absorb such a massive genetic influx, yet hold on to the words of their ancestors? The clues lie in the nature of the migration itself. Not a swift conquest, but a slow tide of settlers. Slavic men marrying Daco-Roman women. Communities blending, not breaking. And in the great monasteries that rose in the mountains, Orthodox Christianity began to anchor a shared identity. Latin words shaped by Slavic lips, echoing in chants, in prayer, in daily life. A cultural fusion, forged not in war, but in endurance. And beneath it all, the land itself remembers. Fields where Slavic tools once turned the soil. Villages where Roman rites merged with Slavic customs. Families whose blood carries both legacies. But in this intricate tapestry, not every thread is so easy to see. For beyond the great waves of farmers, warriors, and settlers, others came. Smaller, stranger, and though their numbers were few, they left marks still visible to those who know where to look. Not all who shaped this land left great kingdoms. Not all built empires, or carved their names in stone. Some passed like shadows, leaving only whispers, then bones. Deep in Romanian soil, strange skulls have been unearthed. Elongated, stretched, reshaped from birth. A mark of status, a sign of power, among Gothic and Hunnic elites. Rituals born on the distant steppes, carried west by horsemen, whose names once struck fear across Europe. And yet, when the Huns vanished, when the Goths retreated, their legacy did not disappear. DNA tells the story. Faint threads, barely detectable, but present. A trace of Central Asian blood, woven into the Romanian genome. A fragment of Germanic ancestry, lingering in certain lineages. It is not much. A ghostly residue beneath stronger layers of Dacian, Roman, and Slavic heritage. But it is there. Proof that in the chaos of late antiquity, the land became a crossroads for forgotten tribes. Celts, whose ironwork once glittered in Transylvanian graves. Avars, whose horsemen ruled for a time, then faded. Huns, whose distorted skulls speak of ancient customs now lost to memory. These were not dominant waves. They came, settled in pockets, left traces, then vanished. Yet in the faces of certain Romanians today, in the genetic code passed through countless generations, their shadows remain. Not enough to define, but enough to remind. That identity is never simple. It is built of many stories, some known, some forgotten. And among these layered histories, there was one group who would walk a different path entirely. Set apart, by blood, by culture, and by choice. In the 14th century, a new people appeared in the lands of Romania. They came not from the steppes nor from the Balkans, but from far, far to the east. Their language carried echoes of Sanskrit. Their music, a sound unlike anything heard in the villages of Wallachia or Transylvania. They called themselves Roma, and their DNA held a secret few understood. A distinct genetic signature, rooted in the Indian subcontinent. South Asian markers clear, undeniable, woven through their bloodlines. But what happened next was even more remarkable. In a world of shifting borders and endless migrations, the Roma chose a different path. They remained apart, bound by tradition, by necessity, by the walls of exclusion. Generation after generation, they married within their own. And in doing so, they preserved a genetic identity almost untouched by the tides of European history. A living time capsule, hidden in plain sight. Yet their story is more than DNA. It is a story of survival, of resilience, of a people often pushed to the margins. In the fields and the markets, in the music that still drifts through the Carpathians, their presence is felt. And they are not alone. Other threads, subtler, but no less vivid, weave through the Romanian tapestry. Saxon blood, from German settlers who built fortified villages among the hills. Székelys lines, guardians of old frontiers, speaking a tongue apart. Greek merchants, Armenian craftsmen, each leaving faint but traceable marks in both culture and genome. Together, these diverse currents ripple beneath the surface of modern Romania, a land shaped by many hands. But amid this dazzling variety, one truth stands out, a surprise that scientists did not expect. Despite the waves of conquest, the migrations, the hidden strands, today's Romanians are far more united than anyone imagined. And what lies at the heart of this genetic unity is a revelation that may change how we see this nation forever. For all the stories, all the migrations, all the layered ancestries, one truth still stuns the scientists. Modern Romanians, despite centuries of upheaval, are remarkably united. Genetically, they form a single, cohesive population, a pan-Balkan profile, clustering closest to Bulgarians, to South Slavs, rather than to Italians or Western Europeans. And yet, within that unity, subtle differences remain. The Carpathians, ancient sentinels of stone, have long shaped the flow of peoples. To the east, Wallachia and Moldavia carry echoes of Slavic waves, the deeper imprint from the north. To the west, in Transylvania, a more Central European blend, the legacy of Saxons, Székelys, and Magyar neighbors. But across these valleys, these mountains, this vast and varied land, one thread binds them all. Not genetic purity, but a shared history. A history of resilience, of fusion, of countless peoples becoming something new. The language they speak, still rooted in Latin, yet shaped by Slavic rhythm. The songs they sing, laced with melodies older than memory. The customs they keep, carrying whispers of Dacians, Romans, Slavs, and even those forgotten tribes that left no name behind. In this land, identity was never forged by isolation. It was born through contact, through exchange, through endurance. And the more we uncover, the clearer it becomes. To be Romanian is to carry many histories within a single heart. But even as the genome reveals its ancient truths, one mystery still remains. Because deep within the DNA, new signals are emerging. Clues from the past we have yet to fully understand. And the story of Romanian origins is far from finished. Even now it is still unfolding. In a lab, beneath humming lights, the fragment of bone lies beneath glass, thousands of years old. A single tooth, the sliver of skull, waiting to speak. Across Romania, ancient graves are being reopened, silent witnesses from a forgotten past. And now, for the first time, we have the tools to listen. The ROGEN project, Romania's largest genomic initiative, is changing everything. High-throughput sequencing, deep-time analysis. Every month, new data emerges. And with it, new contradictions. Old certainties shattered. Familiar narratives rewritten. Because if half of what we thought we knew was wrong, what else lies beneath these ancient stones? Already, strange signals are surfacing. Rare haplogroups, unexpected connections to distant lands. Fragments of forgotten migrations, flickering at the edge of the genetic map. Romanian identity, once seen as a simple lineage, is now revealed as a living mosaic, forged in resilience, woven from 8,000 years of survival. Every layer, every thread tells a story of a people shaped by movement, by fusion, by endurance. But here is the truth. The story is not finished. The genome still holds secrets we cannot yet read. And across the Balkans, beneath untouched burial mounds, and in DNA yet to be sequenced, deeper mysteries remain. So we must ask, if so much of what we believed was wrong, what more might these ancient bones reveal? And what unseen forces still shape the heart of this land? The next chapter is coming, and the most astonishing discoveries may still lie ahead.